So this is the Heel to the Face podcast. I'm Jared.
I'm Brandon.
And there is so much to talk about as we are on the roads to WrestleMania. We'll talk that and so much more. I forgot, I don't even have the Elimination Chamber card in front of me. That's how much we got to talk about as the Heel to the Face podcast for another week starts right now.
Fans celebrate with me from Rome to Rochester.
Bad luck seems to be my middle name. They might as well tag me up with my buddies from Syracuse.
So another edition of the Heel to the Face podcast is on the air. Make sure you are following us at Heel to the Face for every single episode upload and so much more. For Brandon, I am Jared as we are on the road to Elimination Chamber. What appears to be we might be on the roads to WrestleMania. That probably will be the tagline for this episode. I just came up with it. I thought, I think that fits.
I think that it fits. I think it does. I mean, it's been a crazy couple of days. I mean, since our last episode, a lot of dominoes have been falling. I mean, aside from the actual matches themselves, a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And I got to get your take. I know we were just talking about it. The big news this week: Cody Rhodes. Let me put it this way: Cody Rhodes. WWE maybe rumors?
I mean, things are moving fast.
That's what I keep hearing.
That's the crazy thing. And I won't lie. When I saw that, I told Brandon, and I'll stick to it, I thought hell freezes over before Cody Rhodes goes to WWE. And it's mostly because of...
And then you got the snarky remark back, well, hell did freeze over.
I mean...
Because it's probably happening.
The reason I say this, and the reason I said it then is simple, and that is because Cody Rhodes, in my eyes, wasn't just a performer. I understand all performers have things. I could see CM Punk in WWE before this. I could see Jon Moxley in WWE before this. The thing with Cody Rhodes is, though, he wasn't just a performer. And the reason why he was never world champion and never, had all these big title stints in which he booked himself to win is because exactly those words I just said, booked himself. He is one of the essential founders of AEW. This isn't like a performer going to WWE. This is Tony Khan going to WWE. Essentially. I know Tony Khan is the owner, but for all intents and purposes, this company started with Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Tony Khan.
And I think, and you could throw Chris Jericho in there.
You could throw Chris Jericho in there, but I would even say that he had a less integral. Like, I feel like he was the big first.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for those guys, before Chris Jericho, I would say. So Chris Jericho,
that's how much of a pillar of AEW as Cody Rhodes is. He was there prior to Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho, even I would say, he's not a pillar of the foundation of it as much as he was just like the first big signee. He was the first big name to come to the company. But Cody Rhodes, I mean, and that's kind of the reason why we're thinking about him leaving is because rumors are, at one time as executive vice president and all these other things, he's not too happy with that role and he wants to move on.
The thing, the reports that are out there, and you can take the reports with a grain of salt, but what's been reported out there is he essentially lost his booking powers. Like he lost like the authority role that he had, and he wanted to get those powers back. Tony Khan, it sounded like, rebuffed those demands, so to speak. And this is where we're at now. There's another layer to the onion, so to speak, and this is Brandi Rhodes is not in this package, so to speak. I think Brandy's going to focus on being a mom. She's a new mom. She's got other business ventures. So a lot of people thought in the beginning, oh, Cody, Brandi, they're definitely going. It sounds like at this point, if anybody's going to WWE out of the Rhodes group, it's going to be Cody. Brandy's not going to be in the picture, at least for now.
Now, I'm not sure exactly about this TV show that I don't watch, but there is that Go Big show that Cody Rhodes was a big part of that is on the TNT TBS networks.
Well, he also has Rhodes to the Top, too.
Yeah, he has that as well. So that's another reason why him coming to WWE was more than just a performer going to WWE. This is like a whole package.
See, this stuff
is like
this stuff
the
happens,
Miz and Maurice going to AEW while they have a TV show, while they have some power backstage, on top of just being the traditional performer.
Well, here's the thing, too. A lot of people are like, oh, so how's that going to work with it? Like you just mentioned, the TV shows, because they're Turner TV shows. They're on the Turner network, a family of networks. Now, how does it work? It's like Michael Strahan. Michael Strahan does stuff on ABC, I think Good Morning America, if I'm not mistaken, and then he does Fox NFL Sunday. So it doesn't matter if you can work out the contract the way you work out.
WWE's got to be chomping at the bit because of this. Because if he stays on that show, you're going to be able to say, if you watch that Go Big show or whatever, when he's introduced, it's going to say WWE superstar Cody Rhodes on Turner Network Television.
Pretty good, right?
I mean, that's one way you bring this guy over that's already on TNT, and you're like, we're on your network and we're on our network. Because last I remember, there's no AEW stars in any shows on the USA Network.
That's true.
But there's going to be some WWE stars on the TNT TBS network.
I do got to mention, some other news, too, to get to. So I don't remember the exact tweet that you put out on the Twitter, but something along the lines of Kevin Owens, Texas, Stone Cold. You want to go into detail a little bit on that?
Well, I mean, I didn't necessarily put that out. I saw that other people had put that out, that he was starting to diss Texas on Monday Night Raw this past week, and some people were not reading the breadcrumbs, but they were they were trying to be like, hey, it'd be really cool hearing about this. I don't think it has anything to do with it, but it'd be really cool if this had something to do with Stone Cold Steve Austin, or if Stone Cold Steve Austin came back. And then the more reputable dirt sheets came out and said, actually, now that you mention it.
Reputable dirt sheets? I didn't know there was a thing.
The ones whom, yes, there are reputable dirt sheets. There are ones who are pretty much always right. There's the ones who...
which ones are you talking about?
I feel like WrestleVotes never gets anything wrong, which is probably a reason why you might not ever want to follow them if you don't like spoilers.
So where do you put Dave Meltzer on that one? I think he's more of I think he just likes the fantasy book things.
I mean, I would say he's reputable. Is he right 100% of the time? No.
Reputable.
But I mean, does he have some sort of connections? Yes. Is there somebody within the business that works for WWE in whom he has their phone number? That's more to say for a lot of people.
Sure, it might be some unhappy,
more to say than for us.
Some unhappy wrestler that's just gonna feed him any pile of garbage just so he. And here's the thing, I think Dave Meltzer, what he does is he takes that crap that he gets. I have my sources. That person could have made it up, and he's still going to write a piece on it.
But here's the thing. We have to give credit to these reputable dirt sheets for the sake of that we're talking about it right now. Here's what we're not talking about right now. We're not talking about the baby that was on the Nirvana cover for Nevermind suing Gene Snitsky for getting punted on a Monday Night Raw as a baby back in 2005, or also from the same kayfabenews.com. We're not talking about that it has been 100% confirmed that Randy Macho Man Savage will be in Saudi Arabia this Saturday for Elimination Chamber. Those we're not talking about, because we know that those are 100%,
like the Babylon Bees,
Those are 100% fictional ridiculousness we don't talk about. So the fact that we're talking about this means that there is some sort of validity to this, that this isn't just something that some kid tweeted out.
I think a lot of it's more like they read between the lines is what I think is what happened. Like, has Stone Cold, Kevin Owens, has anyone said anything about it?
Well, nobody,
No.
I don't think has said anything directly related to them, but they have said that that WWE has reached out to Stone Cold Steve Austin about doing something.
They've been doing
at WrestleMania
that for years.
I would say
they make overtures every year to him.
So the question is, from a performance perspective, obviously it's cool to see him, referee, be there, whatever. Do you want to see Stone Cold Steve Austin in a ring at WrestleMania?
If it's against Kevin Owens, why not? I mean, Kevin Owens is one of those wrestlers where I think he can take care of Stone Cold and get him, get out of the match the same way they came in.
I'm good with seeing no Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm good with it and being done with him. And the reason why I'm good with being done with him is because at the time that he was wrestling, that we all liked him, we didn't know just how injured he was. And now we are learning and rewatching some of those matches with a different eye and being like, oh, I wondered why he didn't ever do any suplexes in that match. I see now that this whole match, he was in a tag team match. He never got tagged in.
He was a brawler. But he was a brawler. He had some injuries. They protected him. I mean, they
definitely protected him to an extent that I didn't even realize. We watched this whole thing go down without ever realizing,
he seems
about
to be
the
pretty
bumps
healthy.
He never took. He's very healthy.
He seems healthy, because here's the thing. There's a photo circulating. I'm sure you've seen it. There's some familiar AEW guy who was just in the title match this past, not this week, the week before. The Murderhawk Monster, Lance Archer, and him were training together.
I'm not saying that they aren't healthy, but the fact is that we have learned, and it has been belabored so much, that everything he did from 1998 to 2003 was basically on injury, and he was very limited, and we didn't even know how limited he was. That's how much they hit it. and now he's only 25 years older than that. I just feel like, listen.
But hey, but here's the thing, though.
Because we're going to go into this match already having known the secrets as well. That's the thing. This isn't like The Undertaker. We're being told that in 1998, when you watch that tag team match, he can't lift his leg. So now we're like, oh, we're watching it like we didn't know that. I didn't realize he couldn't take a chair shot to the head during that.
Well,
we're going to go into this match knowing all that, knowing he's not going to be able to do all that.
Before Sting was in AEW, everybody thought his career was done.
Mm-hmm.
Not too long after that, he was miraculously able to do what he's doing now, which he had a decent not a spot, but he had a role in the TNT Championship match this past week on Dynamite. So here's the thing. Stone Cold's been healing up for 20 years just about. So to me, if he's taking bumps and he wants to go, let him go.
I just feel like when he
it.
gets in the ring, we're already going to kind of know the secret, and we're going to be like waiting, and like we're going to be overanalyzing and be like, you see how he fell there? Yeah, he didn't take that bump the way that they normally take a bump because of his neck injury, or like, oh, if it's a tag team match, I noticed he doesn't get tagged in much.
I don't think people are going to overanalyze that until after the fact.
Thanks to his podcast that's on. I mean, we're always Stone Cold for the last like 10 years has only been around for documentaries and podcast purposes. So we have just been hearing so much about it. It's kind of like The Undertaker. It's like The Undertaker now that he's let the cat out of the bag about everything and anything. Now it would be more difficult for him to come back. And it's not age, but it's just he's literally gone the last year and a half to 2 years just on a long stretch of just revealing every single secret and everything about him and literally holding nothing back. So it would be very difficult to see him then get in the ring one more time.
Here's the thing.
As The Undertaker.
He's healed though. Obviously, if he feels like he's good enough to be in the ring, that tells me I'm not worried about it. Stone Cold is one of those people, and you've heard it on I've heard on those same docs, those same podcasts, that he would do it if he could. That's as simple as that. You read between the lines, you know if he can do it, he's going to do it. He retired because of his injuries. He's far removed from those injuries. He's healed up. And by the way, when you look at the podcast and all the other stuff he's on, it doesn't look like he's lost his physique by any means.
No.
Like, you don't have to put him in these crazy spots. He's not going to be doing Jeff Hardy kind of moves. He's going to do what he's normally done. It's going to be like a hardcore match essentially. And they're going to limit his bumps, I'm sure, because of the neck. They're going to protect him in a way that the match can still be good. Kevin Owens can still put him over because Kevin Owens will put him over. I don't think Stone Cold comes back to put somebody over.
I just wonder why it's not so much also that. It's the fact that we have to resort to this. There's sometimes good stories. The Bret Hart, Vince McMahon story, that kind of needed to be done. That kind of needed to be a story. We obviously knew the match was going to be garbage. It absolutely was because Bret Hart has quite the limitations. He had a stroke. I don't know what you expect to see in the ring. What we saw when he did get in the ring with him at WrestleMania 26, it was the worst match I've ever seen in my life. But the point is that at least had like a story. This, to me, the reason I guess I don't want to see him is more than just the injury, but it's also the fact that we're calling him up out of the woodwork because we need a big name for WrestleMania and we don't have everything lined up. This isn't like The Rock, that this is a long sought out story that they're going to plan a year in advance and we all see it coming and we can't wait for it. This is, WrestleMania is in 30 days? Crap, Stone Cold, what are you doing? Let's pretend you don't like Kevin Owens real quick.
Here's the thing. You don't think they were
Stone Cold came out at the Royal Rumble and did something and planted the seeds into like a longer term story. Yes. It just seems a little bit of like you're going to force him into this.
I'm sure we'll hear about it a year from now, like how this happened. But my inkling is telling me that this gut feeling I have is Vince and WWE have already been working with Stone Cold. Like, hey, like how long would it take you to be ready for a match? I don't think they would just call him up 3 weeks before WrestleMania and say, hey, you're not so busy. I know you're in Texas of all places, and this is where WrestleMania is this year. Mm-hmm. Let's put you in a match. Stone Cold's not doing that. Stone Cold will not. He's not going to just do that just to do it. He's going to put the best show he could possibly put on. So for me, I think it's been planned out well in advance. Now we're just starting to see the seeds being planted, which is fine because we still have one more show before WrestleMania, and we still got some time. So there's enough seeds that can be sowed here into a storyline.
WrestleMania, this adds in the fact that they need more matches and more glitz and glamour to fill more time.
So who's the other Stone Cold level competitor that's going to be there, because reportedly they have 2 Stone Colds coming out, and I know there's only one Stone Cold. So what's the other Stone Cold caliber moment or performer? It's got to be what? It's got to be The Rock, right? I mean, The Rock was teasing it on social media the other day. So
I only and I will say this much. I only want to see The Rock involved in WrestleMania if it's the same thing as it was at WrestleMania 27, and then it's kicking off for WrestleMania 39 next year in LA. Him and Roman Reigns. I do not want to see that yet.
No, give it to us next year.
Yeah, we need.
They wouldn't do it this year anyways, because if I'm not mistaken, WrestleMania's in LA next year.
Yeah, so it's at SoFi Stadium next year.
They'll plant the seeds this year.
Which is great.
I don't think he wrestles, but I think he shows up in some capacity, and then they do something to set up, him and Roman for next year, and they can build.
Roman's got so much going on this year that we don't need to throw The Rock in there. He's got Brock. He's got Goldberg. He's got
plenty of time.
Plenty of people that we would be interested in seeing him wrestle. Plenty of championship opportunities, whether he's going to leave this Saturday with or without the belt.
You get Austin and Rock, potentially. Those two dudes, and then you throw in Cody Rhodes. That's some pretty good surprises coming up.
Do you think it's too early if Cody Rhodes comes back, let's say, in the next few weeks? Do you think it's too early for a tag team match in which we might see coming because of the whole, again, Cody Rhodes thing back at the beginning of AEW with the throne, Stephanie McMahon, Triple H versus Cody and Brandy? How soon should we get that? Should we wait that for a year?
You're not gonna see that right away. That's way in the distance. I mean, not only is Brandy, Brandy's, I don't even think she wants to wrestle at this point. I know she wants to at some point because I've seen it on her on their the roads to the top show. I don't think she's done with wrestling, but I don't think she would want to wrestle at this point. I think she's doing other things. She's a mom. I would say this. A match that I could see happening if they're already getting things in place that supposedly they are, why not have him and face Seth Rollins? That's a guy that I would love to see him in a match with. And then if Triple H, his heart, all that stuff's in good order, then you know what? Maybe next year you have him ready for it. That's something. But for me, Seth Rollins, I mean, he's not going to have anything going on at this point for WrestleMania. I mean, that's the perfect guy.
I mean, as of right now, yes.
At this juncture, which we're in the middle of February, heading into Elimination Chamber, so that obviously could change post Elimination Chamber, which is this Saturday. So we'll see.
So speaking and continuing the road to WrestleMania, I'll ask your opinion of this because this is a strong one. As of right now, it appears that WWE has sold 100,000 tickets for WrestleMania in Dallas. That is 50,000 for one night, 50,000 for the second. What has been reported only on, meaning they only have, and I don't know if it'd make more available if they need be, but they only sell 53,000 for each night. So WWE, we all talked about that they probably wouldn't get the 100,000, per night, as they got for WrestleMania 32 when they were there. According to essentially WWE, they're aiming for 53,000 a night. If they get more, meaning more tickets on sale, that'd be great. But when the tickets initially went on, their idea, hey, let's for 53,000 a night.
Here's the thing: if the Stone Cold thing happens, if they're going to present that, you're going to see more than 53,000. They'll at that point you put Stone Cold in a position where he's back in his home state of Texas.
I mean, he was at WrestleMania 32. Remember him and Shawn Michaels and Mick Foley came out
in a wrestling match. You're gonna sell that place out just to see him wrestle.
Last time they were in Dallas, we got the special appearance by The Rock. You forget he came out with the cheerleaders and set the sign on fire.
Here's the thing.
He had a quick Stone. He actually had a match.
Stone Cold match.
His last official WWE match was that night. When he took on Eric Rowan, he ripped off the joggers. He had the tights on, and he pinned Eric Rowan real quick.
Here's the thing: if Stone Cold is in a match, potentially, we'll say at this point with Kevin Owens, I would tell you right now, there's going to be that place. They're going to sell way more.
Let's say they don't though. Let's say they get 53,000 per night, and this is the more of the question I was after. Let's say they get 53,000 per night, which is more than 100,000 total.
Sure.
Do you like the optics on that? Is that a successful? Is that good in your eyes? Because me personally, yes, I get it. 100,000 people total. But, and I say this all day, I don't care that Fenway Park holds 35,000 people and that Yankee Stadium holds 50,000 people. And then if the Red Sox played at Yankee Stadium for the World Series and got 40,000 people, that would actually be a boost. That would be a 5,000 seat boost to Fenway Park. I would look at it like this. They're playing the World Series and they're got 10,000 seats empty. That's what I look at it. And a lot of people are saying the opposite. They're saying, hey, you're getting 50,000 a night. That's awesome. I'm looking at it like they're going to the biggest stadium in North America and only filling that place up half full. Well, I don't care if it's per night. I'm just saying, when WrestleMania hits the air, you're looking at a half full AT&T Stadium.
Well, I guess you're not gonna like my answer because I'm going down the middle on this one because I'm very torn because 50,000 plus a night is a really good feat. So that to me, I agree with those folks on that side of the aisle on that portion of it. Because if you get 50,000 people for anything, I don't care what it is, you're obviously doing something right. But I do agree with you in the aspect of it's Jerry's World. It's AT&T Stadium. It's one of the biggest places in the country. 50,000? I don't agree with that. You got to fill the place up.
Again, if this was the idea, why are we running a 100,000 seat venue? Why are we running a 50,000 seat venue?
If you're gonna do 50,000, then go to the freaking Alamo Dome then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the thing.
I would say is I lean more in your direction, but
if 20,000 showed up if 25,000 showed up for WrestleMania, somebody would probably say, "Hey, that's more than they got for WrestleMania 20 at Madison Square Garden. They only fit 20 in there." And I look at it like,
but the optics of it, I get it because then everybody knows. Oh no, Cowboy Stadium can get 100 plus.
Yes, and it looks like, what would be the point of running this massive place
if you're not going to sell it out?
Yeah, the whole fun part about WrestleMania is the drone shot. The place is sold. That's what I show friends and family who don't watch wrestling. I show this is WrestleMania, just like you would if you don't watch the NFL. You would show them this is the Super Bowl, and they would say, "Wow." And I can tell you what, if the Super Bowl was 2 nights, it was Saturday and it was Sunday, if they got 80,000 a night, and it was 2 nights, and that's 160,000, and they were at Jerry's World, people would say, did you hear that one night of the Super Bowl, there were tickets available at the door? That's part of the Super Bowl allure, that you can't get tickets. You can't get your hands on them. They're sold out.
Sure.
The place is jammed. Like, you want to see that sign out front that says Super Bowl, sold out, sold out. Wrestling, they used to do that all the time. Monday Night Raw, they used to show when they come back from commercials, like wherever arena they were. Monday Night Raw tonight, sold out, no tickets available. Oh, that's awesome. That place is jam-packed. It doesn't just look cool if you can just go up to it like a house show and say, oh, okay, we got seats in every section. What would you like? $20, $30.
Well, that, or it's like, oh, we're tarping off the highest, the highest levels, you know.
That's what
the
I'm
upper
saying.
Deck, you know?
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Tampa Bay Rays advertising that they do, and they do way better in attendance than a lot of NFL teams. The Tampa Bay Rays drew more people to games this year than the Green Bay Packers or the Dallas Cowboys or anybody else, because they play 82 games and they got 25,000 a night or whatever it was. So they're like, hey, we outdrew all the minor league teams. Our minor league team here in Syracuse does it all the time. They say, hey, we draw more people than any sport but Syracuse basketball. They say they draw more than Syracuse football because they do.
Well, that's not saying much regardless.
But I mean, even if SU football sold out every single game and Syracuse baseball only got 2,000 a night, 2,000 times 100, is a much bigger number. So it's
because you get 6 football games a year.
Yeah, so it's a way to like cheat when you say like, okay, yeah, the Tampa Bay Rays are they really more popular?
I get what you're saying. I mean, I would say if I had to put a percentage on it, I'm 75% you, I'm 25% the other side, because I do agree on that 25% side where, hey, you know what, you're getting 50,000, that's still a good night, but I also lean more in your direction. Fill the damn place up.
Why are we and this goes into my 2-night thing, and we've been talking about this literally since the inception, since the beginning of COVID. I have a lot to say about 2-night WrestleMania, but one thing I will say, and I'll say it now, and it goes about The Rock specifically, after seeing him obviously open up the Super Bowl. WrestleMania next year, if The Rock is involved, has to be. We got to have that one night. That has to be a 1-night event.
Well, yeah, because the night he's there, they're going to sell out. The night he's not there, it's not going to sell out.
Exactly. And more importantly, when you put tickets on sale, are you going to advertise the night he's there? Let's say this, with The Rock and John Cena, they had their 1-year build, but still there was a lot of things yet to be sewn up until we got closer to WrestleMania. WrestleMania tickets go on sale in October, November. So we won't even know, really, let's say we don't even know officially it's Rock and Roman. Maybe they're just starting to plant the seeds a little bit.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, 2-night WrestleMania with The Rock and Roman is not going to feel like an even split.
No.
The poster's going to be Rock and Roman. So you're essentially going to have a ticket for WrestleMania. You're going to be going up to an event in a stadium that has a big Rock picture and a big Roman picture, and you're going to be seeing 4 hours of wrestling in front of a ring that says WrestleMania with Rock and Roman front and center on the T-shirt everywhere you go, and not anywhere near that card.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think they're going to do 2 nights next year.
They got it. And again, if we're doing this thing, we're doing this year, we're talking about the 50,000 per night. Let's stop this. Let's just stop this charade.
I think you're right, though. I think you're onto something. Like that would just be poor booking by WWE, because why would you do 2 nights when you're only going to draw a sellout on one night, which is the night The Rock in theory.
It's not even just that you're going to draw a sellout, but it's just bad promotion because of the fact that it's like it gives off The Rock and Cena. We remember that. It was once in a lifetime, right? Once in a lifetime, one night only. That's the shtick about, and that's the whole build up to it. So it's kind of silly to have a 2-night event, when you're having,
No, I agree. I mean, we'll get there. We're going to get to WrestleMania next year. Let's get to the one. We still got Elimination Chamber coming up.
Yes.
Before we get to that really quick, I got to get your take on this week's programming from, we'll start, if you want to go back to SmackDown, we can go all the way through. Anything that, on both sides, AEW
well, absolutely.
or WWE.
I'll tell you exactly what stuck out, and it's the thing that sticks out, and I'll ask your opinion on this. It's the most clear thing. So because obviously Elimination Chamber's in Saudi Arabia, they filmed SmackDown last week. They filmed 2 episodes. There was a live 8 to 10 episode and then another episode that followed it to air this week. WWE, and this is why we have to have everything live nowadays. This is why it's not an option. This is why it can't be taped on Tuesday and then aired on Friday, is because even WWE does it. What do you make of them spoiling Friday Night SmackDown, giving away that Sami Zayn is going to become the new Intercontinental Champion, beating Shinsuke Nakamura?
Stupid. That's to me, that's stupid. Nobody's going to watch. That's real. Literally, not many people are going to watch it anyways at that point. Let's be honest. But when you're going to spoil, one of the bigger moments of the night, you're asking people not to watch.
I'm really torn because I get the promotion. I get the sake. It goes back to the WCW thing where they spoiled Mick Foley winning the championship, so everyone tuned over to see him win the championship. So if you spoil somebody's going to win the championship, people are going to want to watch versus they weren't going to watch, and then they were going to find out, oh, crap, I missed it. Instead of now ahead of time, you're going to go out of your way.
Everything's on social media. So, I mean...
And I think that's another thing, because everything's on social media. In this sense, WWE says, hey, let's get out in front of this, because it's going to be out there.
To that extent, I'll agree that's not a bad move. But from a viewership perspective, if you're trying to draw numbers, which last time I checked, I think Fox wants you to have good numbers on their show every Friday night, that's not the way to do it. Like, you can't just spoil stuff, because back in the day, when things were not live, we would get stuff and I wouldn't even have to watch the show.
WWE spoiled a lot of stuff back when SmackDown was taped. I remember there was a lot of Money in the Bank cash-ins. There was a lot of championship changeover. And it was awful, because that is why I never watched SmackDown. I never watched SmackDown because I knew whether there was a championship match or not, if anything good happened, I would already know about it. So why am I going to watch it? The championship's on the line this week. It's not changing hands. How do you know? Did you watch it yet? Well, WWE didn't tell us it changed hands.
Well, let's be honest. Even back in our, you remember this. We're about the same age. I remember back in the day, we didn't even have like a UPN or whatever to watch SmackDown for a while. We had to and then eventually. I
do remember that. Yes,
and then
I had friends tape me during that liaisons where we didn't have a UPN network. We lost it locally. Yep. I had a friend who had satellite dish who would tape it for me weekly.
See, I didn't have that. I didn't even get to watch it, and that's the thing. And then, I remember, because then it was like we picked up the UPN from Boston. I think it was.
I think that's what he did. He had a satellite dish and he picked up UPN
from a different location. But
so I am torn. It just shows the fact that one thing I guess I will say, and the WWE could have done, because they control this, is they could have had some good matches on SmackDown this week. They could have had some good non-title matches.
Sure.
And then advertise that this ended up being a 30-minute classic. It was really good. You got to watch this. But for the title change and the change of the Intercontinental Championship, they could have had that on the live SmackDown last week.
Thank you. That's where I was getting
you could have decided to have this on the live SmackDown last week. And then if you want to kind of spoil something that's not really spoilable, you know what I mean? Just like, hey, Goldberg comes back on SmackDown. People are going to want to tune in even if they already know about it. They're going to say, Goldberg makes his return to SmackDown. I want to see it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But
NXT 2.0 was decent this week. I enjoyed that. That was Dolph Ziggler was involved. I mean,
it was their pseudo pay-per-view.
Yeah, it was for what it was. It wasn't bad. There were some good. There were some highlights there. I will tell you, the match of the week for me happened on Dynamite this week. I think it's an easy. I mean, let me do this. I could do 1 and 1A because they were both good on Dynamite. Lee Moriarty and Bryan Danielson. That was a hell of a match. Mm-hmm. Lee Moriarty, that bookmark this episode. We're going You can mark this in February of 2022. I say by this time next year, that dude's going to be in a title picture. He's just that good. And Bryan Danielson is Bryan Danielson. He makes good matches anyways. So that'd be my 1A, but my number one match, Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin. What a hell of a match that was. I mean, if you don't think if you don't see money with Sammy Guevara, I don't know what to tell you, because that dude's Tony Khan is gonna be making so much money by promoting this guy.
And I think AEW treats that TNT Championship very well. I think it is very front and center. It is something that is not like forgotten about, which you could say, and to bring back the last point, but of all the title changes, I think this one is one of the most disheartening, is that the SmackDown Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah.
Because we have talked about how little Shinsuke has defended that title, how awful disrespect they've had about Shinsuke. I think they said he defended it like once in SummerSlam. Like, it
wasn't much.
Awful how many times he has defended that championship, or, even been in a wrestling match himself. So to have that title, of all the titles, to have that title go out like that, to have a title in which you've given no respect for, hopefully you're going to give it some big respect, and then to have it go out like in a taped thing. Yeah, really, that's how you're going to do Shinsuke? You're going to have him win a title in a forgotten match?
Not only Shinsuke, but that's how you're going to do the IC title?
Yeah, that's how you're doing the IC title. You're having it won and then never defended for 6 months, and when it's finally lost, it's essentially in a dark match. It's essentially like at a house show.
Yeah,
I guess, because we already know what happened without watching
poorly
it.
Booked, but what are you going to do? It's WWE. We talked about that last week, how poorly booked they book things. Look at what AEW is doing these days. I will say, though, the matches themselves, AEW had the better week, but out of a news perspective, I think WWE is having the bigger week. So if you can go one way or the other, it's been a good week for both brands or both shows.
We talk about all the releases and nothing surprises anymore, so I guess it doesn't really surprise me, because what does surprise me? The only person that would surprise me if he was released is Vince McMahon, and that would medium surprise me. But Carlos Cabrera, a very long time. I think he's been with the company since the early 90s. Debuted in 1993.
Always had that Spanish announce table.
Yes. He is the Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler. Him and Hugo Savinovich were the two Spanish guys. They were... it's weird that they never became characters. It's weird that the Spanish announce team was always there. But they never.
They always used the tables back in the day.
They did always use the tables, but it's strange. It's strange. They have called Carlos Cabrera has called more pay-per-views than Jim Ross. He has called more pay-per-views than Michael Cole, because while Michael Cole called some and Jim Ross called others, they called them all. They were the one in between.
Carlos called them all.
And they weren't calling them all like where we never knew about them. They were there ringside with those guys. They were there right there. They introduced them at every single pay-per-view. Kind of a disservice to the Spanish population in the sense that they never got the Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler treatment where they got to be characters and announcers.
He is the Spanish voice for WWE. He has been. That's crazy. Almost 30 years with WWE, and they let him go. That's a little odd. Why don't you keep him?
Yeah, he was released just today as recording the show after 30 years with WWE. Hugo Savinovich apparently has been out of the company for a little bit, so I feel a little bad that I don't know how long he's been gone, but it's just crazy to think.
Yeah, but I get it, because Carlos was the guy. You know what I mean? Everybody. I knew who Carlos was for many years, because a lot of times you would have the different language announcers for the big pay-per-views. You'd see like the Mandarin team.
I've always wondered this about animated shows, and I've always thought this was really weird. Like, let's look at The Simpsons, for example. It's been on the air for hundreds and hundreds of years, it seems like, and the voices of the show are celebrities. They're well-known people. Everybody knows them in Hollywood. They're household names, But in another country, somebody has been voicing Homer Simpson or Bart Simpson for just as long. And if you go to India or Japan or any other country that has a different language, to them, that's the voice of Homer. If they heard Homer Simpson in America, that would be a foreign sound to them. Huh? They'd be like, what? Why does he sound like that? They know Homer Simpson as for the guy who's been doing it for them. But except the difference is the guy who does it for them doesn't get the notoriety or the paycheck.
No.
But the guy who does it here. The guy who does the voice of SpongeBob here is the voice of SpongeBob. But the guy who does it literally line for line, minute for minute, day for day, wakes up at 8 a.m., goes to Nickelodeon Studios and records every single episode as if he is SpongeBob, but does it for India, is just some guy. You know what I mean?
That's true.
It's weird. It's weird that it's like that. Because when you're a voice actor, because you're not writing the lines, the guy who does the Lion King isn't writing lines. He's a voice.
You're just reading you're just taking the read and you're the copy and reading it.
So why the one who does it in Japanese for the Japanese audience, or the guy who does it in English for the American audience? why they're treated differently is weird.
Well, I mean, from that perspective, sure. But I mean, in let's say Japan, for example, the Japanese voice is probably just the famous. They're probably a famous. Hey, this is the Japanese television star. Yeah. They're just. It's more.
Maybe so.
It's more. Maybe country by country, they're stars because you see it. I mean, there's actors and actresses that they maybe had some one-offs in shows here. Maybe they did some shows here, and then they're like huge daytime soap opera stars in Mexico.
Yeah,
it's just it's the thing is it depends on where you are.
So it's weird for the WWE Spanish announcers. They were there all along. They're at every single show. But, they never get the Jim Ross treatment. We never see.
Yeah, whatever happened to Mang and Dang? Because they used to have Mang and Dang on there from I think it was the Mandarin side.
Yes, I know Funaki was involved.
Yeah, Funaki.
But, they've added extra languages more recently in the last couple of years. But the Spanish announce table's been there since the get-go.
It was a staple as long as I can remember.
So those guys, to be honest with you, not just released. When they should be in the Hall of Fame. They should get the Jim Ross. Jim Ross got to go and speak at a podium about being in the Hall of Fame. What would be the difference? He's there. He's at every show, just the same.
Carlos is in his 60s, so does he retire, or do you think this is the last of we'll hear of Carlos Cabrera doing wrestling, or do you think he's gonna?
I think it might be the last. I know Hugo Savinovich is he does a lot of Lucha Underground now. But I think that's it for Carlos.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? It was a good run for him anyways.
Yes. As we move into the Elimination Chamber, and I'll save this for next week. We're running low on time, so much to talk about this week, but a definite rant about what I've been saying all along about two-night WrestleMania and how it's coming back to bite WWE. And maybe not financially, but just from a fan's perspective of the fans who wanted two-night WrestleMania. You're getting what I told you were going to get literally when the pandemic first started. That's all I'm saying. But we'll talk about Elimination Chamber. A lot of surprises, swerves, things planned for this upcoming pay-per-view. People say there's going to be a lot of twists and turns, and it's going to end up being a unique event. It's going to be more than just the bona fide house show. Anything you're looking forward to, any major surprises for Elimination Chamber? You got Roman Reigns, Goldberg, obviously. You got the star-studded men's chamber and the women's chamber for the number one contendership. Becky and Lita returning to the ring in a one-on-one match. Charlotte and Sonya Deville versus Naomi and Ronda Rousey. They went from just literally making the match at the end of a SmackDown to signing the contract an hour later at the next taping of SmackDown. Funny how that works. Literally a whole week went by in an hour.
That's old school taping, man. They tape stuff.
Yeah, at 9:55, we're learning that this is a potential feud. Ronda came in and then by Twitter showing me at 10:25. The next episode started, and they're at the contract signing.
Yeah, that's. I'll be honest with you. I'm not that excited about this show. From top to bottom, I'm not. There's not many matches here that I'm yeah, I really want to watch it. Drew McIntyre is going to destroy Madcap Moss. I think we agree there. I will say I am looking forward to seeing how Lita does. I don't see her beating Becky. I don't, because here's the thing. She already tipped her hand because there's no plans after. Lita's already acknowledged that there's no plans for her after Elimination Chamber. So that tells me Becky's winning the match.
So Becky's winning the match. You got the Women's Elimination Chamber, essentially, who is going to face Becky. Who do you see on that list facing Becky? You got Alexa Bliss making her return. That was the final surprise announcement. Ripley, Morgan, Nikki, ASH, Bianca Belair, Doudrop. What you got?
I'll go Rhea Ripley.
I'm going Bianca Belair. I think we need.
It's not bad. Bianca's a good choice.
I know we kind of had that rematch from the SummerSlam, little insult, but
I will say this: who I want is Rhea Ripley. Who I think Alexa Bliss.
Huh? They treat Alexa Bliss not the best.
But you know what?
They don't ever treat her as a legitimate contender.
She gets a segment every week.
I know, but they're
pushing her. They're pushing her. So that tells me.
They are, but I feel like they never push her as a legit competitor. It's more like a gimmick. We saw Money in the Bank. She came out and she was doing the voodoo and all that kind of stuff, but they never pushed her as a legit competitor.
Here's the thing. Roman Reigns, Goldberg, I don't see that title changing hands. I think Roman keeps the title, obviously. And then one other piece.
Is it going to be title versus title, though? You see Brock leaving. I see Brock leaving because that's the gimmick with Brock.
I'm gonna put one little thing in there as a surprise. I think Austin Theory lasts. I think he's one of the final three.
All right.
I know that doesn't say a lot, but I think he's one of the final three.
Elimination Chamber this Saturday at noon. That's right. They can do Saudi Arabia pay-per-views on Saturday. Who knew when they've been doing them on Thursdays?
Who knew? I couldn't believe it.
And making us miss work or not see them live because they want to put them on Thursdays, and here they are, putting it on a Saturday. We will talk Elimination Fallout. We will talk more on the road and roads to WrestleMania next week, and so much more, as well as the long rant that I'll probably start next week's show with. For Brandon, I'm Jared. This has been another edition of the Heel to Face podcast, and we will talk to you next week.